The feed erupts before the intro music can play. Ava Cole said, "Wait, this isn't live," but the red dot burns. A joke lands crooked. A secret slips out. A hand rushes in from frame, and the laptop snaps half shut. The screen freezes on her stunned face. A caption flashes, "This wasn't supposed to be posted." Notifications detonate like popcorn. Liam Park said, "Who hit publish?" but the chat drowns him. Sierra Knox said, "Girl, not the main character energy," and the stitch count spikes. Jonah Reyes said, "Pause and breathe," though his text arrives too late. The mob floods in with laughing tears and knives. Ava fights the cursor and loses. Comments claw at the glass. Harper Voss said, "We'll draft a statement," while her spreadsheet bleeds sponsors. The audio loops, clipped and cruel. Ava said, "Please stop sharing," and the plea becomes a sound. Rook said, "I always knew you'd show the real you," from a gray account. The algorithm inhales the scandal. The number climbs like a siren. Ava said it was private, and the word private becomes the hook. Screens mirror screens. The night hums. Silence has nowhere to hide. Ava watches the number surge like a fever. Jonah Reyes said, "Mute everything for 10 minutes, and the clock feels hostile." The clip loops, each pass shaving off dignity. Liam Park said, "It auto-cued after export, but his voice wavers." Ava said, "I never toggled public, and the word never chokes." The algorithm smiles with perfect teeth. A duet shows a stranger crying from laughter. Sierra Knox said, "Accountability era," and the chorus repeats her line. Ava's inbox coughs out contracts with quiet knives. Harper Voss said, "We can frame this as growth," and that word sounds plastic. The mob chants with custom sounds and cruel filters. Ava said, "It was supposed to be a draft, and draft becomes a slur." A neighbor knocks, and the sound is a gavel. Jonah Reyes said, "Step away from the screen," and the screen reaches anyway. The night outside leans in, curious and bright. Ava breathes shallow, counting comments as if they were seconds. She taps delete, and the app laughs. The stitches multiply like cells. Sierra Knox said, "Let's educate," and she points at pause frames with smug precision. Ava said, "You cut context," and context evaporates in chat noise. Liam Park said, "Give me the password," but the request sinks. A parody dances to her stutter, looped and sharpened. The mob invents lore from dust. A fan account posts a timeline within minutes. Jonah Reyes said, "I'm drafting a pin," and the draft shakes. Brands slide into silent mode. Harper Voss said, "We need remorse without admission," and the script tastes metallic. Ava sees her own face turn into a sticker pack. She said, "Am I a joke?" and the app replies with stickers. Rook said, "You finally gave me something real." And the DM burns. A rumor claims a secret feud fueled the leak. Sierra Knox said, "Sources confirm, and no one asks who." The number climbs, and every digit stings. Alva's hands hover, unable to land. The business side wakes up hungry. Harper Voss said, "Brand paused, Brand B wants distance," and the spreadsheet bleeds red. Ava said, "I can fix this," and fix feels small. Liam Park said, "It was scheduled, not me," and scheduled becomes suspect. Jonah Reyes said, "Own the mistake, control the frame," and control slides off the table. A lawyer email arrives with polite threats. Harper Voss said, "No admissions," and the circle tightens. Ava records an apology take and deletes it. She said, "I sound fake," and the room agrees. A parody tutorial hits 1 million before her next breath. The mob votes on her punishment like a game. Sierra Knox said, "We demand transparency," and the chant spreads. Rook said, "I see you now," and the message chills. Ava opens drafts and feels seasick. Jonah Reyes said, "Start with truth," and truth hides behind glass. The caption screenshot outruns her deletes. Ava said, it wasn't supposed to be posted, and the sentence becomes the hook of 100 remixes. A duet chains into a chorus of mock shock. Jonah Reyes said, log off for 1 hour, and the hour feels impossible. Liam Park said, I'll check the queue, and the queue snarls. Harper Voss said, we pivot to reflection, while the word pivot sounds brittle. Sierra Knox said, private means nothing online, and the crowd applauds. Rook said, you thought no one watched, and the whisper scratches. The mob plays judge, jury, and meme. Ava drafts a pinned comment and stares at the blinking cursor. She said, I'm more than this clip, and the clip disagrees. A neighbor's TV echoes her voice from a reaction video. She tastes copper fear and stale coffee. The night swallows the apartment with city hush. The number pauses, then leaps again. Ava whispers to the lens, praying it hears. Sun sneaks through the blinds like a guilty witness. Ava Cole said, no alarms today, and the room answers with pings. Her desk is a battlefield of sticky notes and half plans. Jonah Reyes said, eat first then decide, and the advice tastes human. Ava scrolls her old drafts and finds a laugh that used to be easy. She said, that girl felt lighter, and the feed shows numbers, not faces. Liam Park said, I'm fixing permissions, and the word fixing feels brittle. A post-it reads rent, due, and hums like a trap. Harper Voss said, we'll need a statement, and the syllables carry edges. Ava touches the cracked pop socket like a talisman. She said, I built this with my hands, and her thumb bears a tiny editing blister. The city outside is bright and indifferent. Jonah Reyes said, you are not your clip, and she lets that sentence breathe. Ava sets the phone down and holds still long enough to feel her heart. The ring light stays off as the kettle hisses. Ava Cole said, offline me makes better tea, and steam lifts like a prayer. She lays out a thrifted uniform for a shift she hopes to avoid. Liam Park said, call, if the landlord pushes, and his text is a shield. Ava opens a folder titled Firsts and finds a fundraiser stream. She said, we paid a shelter's electric bill, and the memory warms cold air. A troll DN barges in, and loses to a block. Jonah Reyes said, stack wins not views, and she lists 3 small wins. The list steadies her hands. Harper Voss said, a reflective video can reset tone, and tone feels like wet clay. Ava tries a mirror pep talk, and flinches at her own eyes. She said, talk to one person, not millions, and the fear shrinks a size. The kettle clicks and the quiet feels earned. Ava cues an old clip where she taught a budget lighting hack. She said, a pizza box beats glare, and her laugh is younger. The comments from that week read like thank you notes. Jonah Reyes said, you gave them tools not drama, and the line sits true. A duet from a kid refurbishing lamps glows like a lantern. Ava said, I wanted to be useful, and her shoulders loosen. Liam Park said, your craft is still yours, and the sentence feels like ground. She opens a notes app called Why and scrolls past heart emojis. The last entry says keep showing work. Harper Voss said, purpose is a talking point, and purpose feels more like spine. Ava sets a tripod without pressing record. She said, it's not performance if I am here anyway, and breath returns. Outside, sirens fade, and the room hears itself again. Email subjects line up like verdicts. Harper Voss said one brand returns if we frame growth, and the phrase feels rehearsed. Ava said growth without pain would be nicer, and the call goes quiet. A padded envelope on the doormat holds a fan sketch with kind eyes. She said, I still have people glad I exist, and the paper creases softly. Jonah Reyes said, let's set boundaries and keep craft, and boundaries sound possible. Liam Park said, archive the toxic tags, and his checklist is a rope. Ava drags a folder named Storm into a hard drive called Horizon. She said, I choose what stays in the house, and the room nods. A police siren passes, and her shoulders lower. Harper Voss said, we go live only when ready, and ready stops meaning perfect. Ava lights a candle, and lets the flame be the only algorithm. She said begin again, and it lands like a seed. Twilight paints the roof in bruised violets. Ava Cole said, I forget the city can be kind, and the wind edits her hair. She balances on the ledge of a new choice, not a cliff. Jonah Reyes said, you owe them truth, not pieces of yourself, and the sky agrees. Ava writes a script titled, Just Me, and erases half the polish. She said, I will say what mattered before they laughed, and the words stand. Liam Park said, I'll handle the back end, and backstage finally feels safe. Harper Voss said, no rush, but soon, and soon becomes a horizon, not a clock. Ava closes her eyes and counts breaths like beats to sing. She said, if I break, let it be into something honest. And the city hums. A plane drags a thin silver thread above her. She smiles without a camera, and the moment keeps its shape. The storm regathers in the timeline. Ava Cole said, they're recycling clips, and the screen confirms. Old drafts resurface, spliced into ridicule. Jonah Reyes said, you can't fight riposte culture, and his tone is weary. Ava said, but I can't be haunted forever, and her words crack like glass. Liam Park said, I tightened every setting, but leaks ooze through cracks. The mob edits her voice into a ringtone trending by the hour. Sierra Knox said even her silence is content, and the chorus laughs. Ava refreshes until her reflection blurs. Harper Voss said, we can't sue the whole internet, and exhaustion wraps the syllables. Ava said, I'm more than a clip, and the app mocks with stickers. Jonah Reyes said, anchor yourself outside their screens, and the suggestion floats. Ava stares at her own pinned smile, and doesn't recognize it. The night presses in. Notifications prickle like static under skin. The group chat fractures into sharp edges. Liam Park said, someone inside is leaking, and suspicion hardens. Ava Cole said, my drafts were safe, but safety evaporates. Jonah Reyes said, trust circles shrink in storms, and silence stretches. Harper Voss said every reply fuels them, but her voice falters. Screenshots of private DMs crawl across hashtags. Including. Ava said, those were jokes, not confessions, but the mob treats nuance like prey. Sierra Knox said, receipts don't lie, and the mob chants it back. Ava deletes messages, and feels erased herself. Liam Park said, you need to ask who benefits, and the question sits heavy. Rook's shadow lingers in unread notifications. Ava said, it feels like betrayal breathing. And betrayal answers in echoes. A trending hashtag turns venom into entertainment. Ava Cole said, they made me a meme, and the image loops cruelly. Jonah Reyes said, memes rot fast, but the sting lingers. Sierra Knox said, don't dish what you can't take, and her smirk goes viral. Ava said, I never dished this, but the mob ignores context. Liam Park said, we should counterpost, and the suggestion wobbles. Harper Voss said, silence is strategy, but the quiet feels like suffocation. Ava scrolls through edits of her voice pitched cartoon high. How down to die you? She said, I sound like a clown, and the laughter spikes. Rook whispers from a burner, now they see you, and dread stiffens. Ava's pulse races with each new stitch. Jonah Reyes said, you're still you beneath noise, but the noise drowns. Ava drafts an apology video. Ava Cole said, I just want to explain, and her eyes blur with unshed tears. Jonah Reyes said, explanations feed fire, and his tone is protective. Liam Park said, we can edit one safe version, and his hands shake. Harper Voss said, remorse without fault, and the paradox stings. Ava replays takes where her voice breaks too soon. She said, It all sounds staged, and her reflection nods. Sierra Knox posts a reaction, mocking before she posts. Ava smashes delete, trembling. Rook sends a cryptic DM. They don't want sorry. They want blood. Ava whispers, then I am already bled, and silence floods. The follower count ticks downward, like a doomsday clock. Ava Cole said, it feels like watching my own funeral, and her chest aches. Jonah Reyes said, numbers lie, but the truth gnaws. Liam Park said we can pivot platforms but each account feels cursed. Harper Voss said, brands smell blood, they're gone, and the loss stings. Ava said, I was never built for mobs, and the mob answers with chants. Sierra Knox uploads a montage titled, Downfall, Gaining Smiles. Ava closes curtains, drowning light. Rook said, they will never let go, and the words cut. Ava said, I can't breathe online, and the air shrinks. Jonah Reyes said, then breathe offline, and his voice anchors. The screen fades to black, but the noise claws through walls. The quiet breaks with a revelation Ava never expected. Liam Park said, the upload logs show more than me and suspicion cracks. Ava Cole said, who else had access, and the question hangs sharp. Harper Voss said, we gave access to your co-collaborator last year, and her tone falters. Jonah Reyes said, check your shared drive and the folder pulses. Ava opens permissions and a name she trusted glows like a wound. Sierra Knox said, sometimes betrayal wears a smile, and the words spread. Ava said, no, not them, and denial shivers. The mob speculates with wild threads. Rook said, you always invite your executioner. And the DM burns. Ava stares at the list of permissions like tombstones. Jonah Reyes said, truth cuts deeper than rumor, and the silence sharpens. The name on the log is not an enemy but a friend. Ava Cole said, they had my password, and her stomach drops. Liam Park said, someone inside triggered this, and his tone darkens. Jonah Reyes said, confrontation must be careful, but caution feels hollow. Harper Voss said, we craft narrative before confrontation, and strategy replaces empathy. Ava remembers late nights of shared edits and laughter. She said, I gave them keys to my house and regret coils. The mob latches on, whispering conspiracies. Sierra Knox said, I told you trust kills careers, and the echo spreads. Ava replays memories like betrayal trailers. Rook's DM appears again, trust was your first mistake. Ava said, it feels like my skin is inside out, and no reply comes. Screenshots surface showing the collaborators' fingerprints. Ava Cole said, that's their handle, and the denial fades. Jonah Reyes said, evidence doesn't lie, and Ava trembles. Liam Park said they played you for months, and the wound deepens. Harper Voss said, we pivot this as betrayal, not incompetence, and her eyes harden. Ava remembers messages where trust bled freely. She said, we built this together, and the words taste like ash. The mob erupts with betrayal hashtags. Sierra Knox said, ouch, stabbed by your own, and the crowd applauds cruelty. Rook whispers, family wounds bleed longer, and Ava feels flayed. Jonah Reyes said, you choose how the world hears this, but choice feels broken. Ava whispers, I never saw it coming, and the echo haunts. Ava's phone lights up with a message from the collaborator. Ava Cole said, why would you do this? Her voice shaking. The reply arrives, it was never meant to go this far. Liam Park said, that's not an answer, fury sharp. Jonah Reyes said, they admit guilt, but it feels like a blade. Harper Voss said, we leverage this, and her tone is steel. The mob amplifies the screenshots. Sierra Knox said, karma sings loud and hashtags erupt. Ava said, you turned my trust into content, and tears blur vision. Rook said betrayers never regret, and the DM hisses, Jonah Reyes said, don't let them script your fall. But the fall feels near. Ava whispers, they were my ally, and the word ally dies in her throat. The betrayal detonates online. Ava Cole said, they were family, and her voice breaks. The chants betrayal like a chorus. Jonah Reyes said, you are not defined by their knife, but the wound is raw. Liam Park said, cut them out publicly, and his tone is iron. Harper Voss said, we frame you as survivor, and the strategy sharpens. Sierra Knox said, even family caches clout, and her smirk fuels fire. Ava stares at the camera lens like it's an enemy. She said, I gave them everything, and grief pools. Rook whispers, now you finally see truth, and the DM chills. Jonah Reyes said, this is your story still, but Ava feels like a headline. The city outside wakes as her world fractures. Ava whispers, I will never trust again, and the silence swallows it whole. The live stream begins with trembling hands. Ava Cole said, I won't hide anymore, and the chat ignites. The viewer count spikes like a siren. Jonah Reyes said, stay steady, but his words feel far. Liam Park said, I'll monitor comments, and his jaw clenches. Harper Voss said, keep to the script. But Ava tears it up. She said, they betrayed me, and I trusted them, and her voice cracks. The mob floods with laughing emojis and daggers. And doke. Sierra Knox said, the drama feeds itself, and her stitch launches midstream. Ava said this isn't for clout, but the crowd jeers. Rook Stan appears on screen. Truth doesn't save you. Ava gasps, and the silence burns. Jonah Reyes said, breathe, you're still here, and she steadies. The betrayal name slips from her lips, and the room holds its breath. The betrayer joins live, uninvited. Ava Cole said, why are you here? Her voice sharp. The collaborator smirks, you made it easy, and the chat erupts. Jonah Reyes said, end the call, but Ava shakes. Liam Park said, I'll shut them out, and scrambles. Harper Voss said, let it play, it proves betrayal, and her words cut. Ava said, we built this together, but the collaborator shrugs. The mob devours the chaos with glee. Sierra Knox said, this is better than TV, and her clip trends instantly. Ava yells, you ruined me, and her face contorts. Rook's DM crawls across, they only ruin what you hand them. Ava trembles but doesn't mute. Jonah Reyes said, don't let them script you, and she inhales fire. The chat scrolls faster than breath. Ava Cole said, say why you did it, but the collaborator laughs. Because they wanted the real you, he replies, and the mob howls. Jonah Reyes said, they're baiting you, but the bait sinks hooks. Liam Park said, mute him now, but the delay lags. Harper Voss said the confession helps us, but her tone sounds cold. Ava said, you were my friend, and the word friend splinters. Sierra Knox said, best plot twist ever, and her followers echo. Rook said the real you is what I've always seen, and the DM pulses. Ava shouts, I am more than this feed, and her breath rattles. The collaborator smiles like a knife. Jonah Reyes said, claim your story, but the chat spins blood. The climax shatters with Ava's scream. Ava Cole said, you will not own my story, and slams the table. The mic distorts. Jonah Reyes said, yes, stand tall, and his voice cuts through. Liam Park said, I'm locking him out, and the collaborator vanishes. Harper Voss said that was raw, keep it, and strategy sharpens. The mob reels, split between awe and mockery. Sierra Knox said, iconic meltdown, and her post hits millions. Ava said, I will not be your meme, and her face hardens. Rook whispers, but you already are, and the DM stings. Ava steadies her breath and stares straight into the lens. Jonah Reyes said, end it on your terms, and her hand hovers over stop. The live stream ends in a silence louder than screams. Ava Cole said no more, and clicks end. The screen darkens but the echo lingers. Jonah Reyes said, "You took back your voice, and his words anchor." Liam Park said, "The damage is vast and truth stings." Harper Voss said, "But you just reframed the story," and her tone calculates. The mob splits, half cheers, half mocks. Sierra Knox said, "She broke live," and her clip spreads. Ava whispers, "I broke free," and exhales. Rooks, DM blinks, "The world never forgets." Ava stares at it but doesn't reply. The city outside is quiet, dawn bruising the horizon. Jonah Reyes said, "Sleep now," and Ava finally closes her eyes. The storm leaves rubble in its wake. Ava Cole said, "It feels like silence is heavier than noise," and her eyes linger on blank screens. Jonah Reyes said, "The worst has already passed," and his tone is steady. Liam Park said, "Your following may never fully return," and truth bites. Harper Voss said, "But silence can be curated," and her strategy is sharp. Ava scrolls through an empty feed, the once endless comments replaced by stale echoes. Sierra Knox said, "She vanished overnight," and the mob repeats like an obituary. Ava said, "I'm still here, just not theirs anymore," and the words sound new. Rook whispers, "The internet never forgets," and the DM chills her spine. Jonah Reyes said, "Forget them instead," and hope flickers. Ava leans back, letting the quiet settle like a fragile truce. Ava stacks old merch boxes into the corner like gravestones. Ava Cole said, "Each logo feels like a reminder of loss," and the cardboard scratches her skin. Jonah Reyes said, "Clear space for breathing," and she obeys. Liam Park said, "These contracts are burned bridges, and the files go into the shredder." Harper Voss said, "Scarcity may even build sympathy," but her tone is detached. Sierra Knox posts, "Her career is dead," and the crowd shares. Ava said, "Death isn't the same as ending," and her breath steadies. Rook, "DM's ashes still carry your name," and the line lingers. Jonah Reyes said, "You decide what grows from ashes," and his words plant seed. Ava kneels by the candle from nights before and lights it again. The flame dances, fragile but alive. The city outside hums indifferent. Ava Cole said, "No one looks twice," as she walks the street. Jonah Reyes said, "Offline world is kinder," and she nods. Liam Park said, "Be careful of cameras," but his warning floats. Harper Voss said, "They might spot you and frame new narratives," and paranoia blooms. Sierra Knox uploads, spotted Ava with no makeup, and her smirk trends. Ava said, "This is my real face," and the sun softens it. Rook whispers, "They see you even when you turn away," and shadows follow. Jonah Reyes said, "Walk where they cannot reach," and she steps further into the crowd. For the first time in weeks, no one shouts her name. She said, "I am invisible, and I like it." Ava sits in a quiet cafe corner. Ava Cole said, "I used to plan content here," and her notebook lies blank. Jonah Reyes said, "Write for yourself this time," and she smiles faintly. Liam Park said, "Rebuild with private work," but his tone is cautious. Harper Voss said, "A reflective essay could reset brand image," but Ava ignores it. Sierra Knox posts, "She hides offline," and the mob laughs. Ava said, "Offline feels like truth," and her pen scratches the page. Rook whispers, "Even here, eyes watch," and a shiver passes. Jonah Reyes said, "Let the world shrink to a page," and calm returns. The notebook fills with thoughts not meant for views. Ava said, "This is mine, not theirs," and the sentence glows. Night falls with gentler weight. Ava Cole said, "I may never return online the same," and the city glows outside. Jonah Reyes said, "Return isn't required," and his words soothe. Liam Park said, "Your name may always be tied to scandal," but Ava shrugs. Harper Voss said, "Reputation can still pivot," but she doesn't answer. Sierra Knox uploads, "She's finished," and the mob claps. Ava said, "Finished is not destroyed," and she exhales. Rook whispers, "You'll never escape me," and her hands tremble. Jonah Reyes said, "Scars are proof of survival," and she breathes steady. Ava closes her laptop, turns off the ring light, and blows out the candle. She said, "This silence belongs to me now," and it lands like victory. The feed stays quiet for days. Ava Cole said, "Maybe it's over," and her voice carries doubt. Jonah Reyes said, "The quiet is a gift, but the silence scratches." Liam Park said, "I scrubbed old links, yet shadows remain." Harper Voss said, "Momentum fades fast online, and strategy sounds like prayer." Sierra Knox said, "She ghosted," and her followers laugh. Ava whispers, "I am learning how to be small again," and her breath steadies. Rook's DM arrives, "You thought you were free." Ava stares at the words like fire. Jonah Reyes said, "Don't reply," and his tone is firm. Ava closes her eyes, clutching the phone. The city hums outside, alive but indifferent. Ava walks streets at night, blending into crowds. Ava Cole said, "I am invisible," and relief hums. Jonah Reyes said, "That's safety," but she glances over her shoulder. Liam Park said, "I worry about the stalkers," and the warning chills. Harper Voss said, "Paranoia reads badly on camera, but no cameras follow." Sierra Knox posts, "She hides in shadows," and hashtag stir faintly. Ava said, "Shadows feel softer than spotlights," and exhales. Rook whispers, "I'm closer than you think," and her pulse races. Jonah Reyes said, "Breathe the air, not their noise," and she slows. The city swallows her footsteps, neon lights reflecting on wet asphalt. At home, Ava deletes her account. Ava Cole said, "This is the only way," and her finger hovers. Jonah Reyes said, "You don't owe anyone an exit," but she clicks anyway. Liam Park said, "Once gone, it's permanent, and permanence tastes sharp." Harper Voss said, "We could have leveraged redemption, but her words fade." Sierra Knox posts, "She finally quit," and the mob mocks. Ava said, "I choose the silence," and relief floods. Rook whispers, "Silence doesn't erase me," and the DM chills. Jonah Reyes said, "It's a door closed, not a coffin," and his warmth holds. Ava stares at the blank profile, lighter yet haunted. The final night is thick with silence. Ava Cole said, "I thought the storm would end," and she exhales. Jonah Reyes said, "It has for now," and his words steady. Liam Park said, "Your name will echo in feeds for years," and truth aches. Harper Voss said, "We salvage what's left," but Ava doesn't answer. Sierra Knox posts, "Gone girl," and the mob cheers. Ava said, "I am not gone, just elsewhere," and her voice softens. Rook's DM flashes, "I'll always find you," and her hand shakes. Jonah Reyes said, "Block him, breathe free," and she hovers. Ava whispers, "Maybe freedom isn't silence but choosing who hears me," and calm grows. The last words echo into darkness. Ava Cole said, "You never really know who's watching," and her voice is low. Jonah Reyes said, "Then speak only to yourself," and his calm steadies. Liam Park said, "The internet may remember, but you can forget," and his voice softens. Harper Voss said, "Scandal fades, scars stay," and her words cut. Sierra Knox posts, "Nothing for once," and silence shocks. Ava whispers, "This silence is mine," and exhales. Rook's DM glows one final time, "You thought it was over." Ava closes the phone and blows out the candle. The city hums, endless and uncaring, as her shadow disappears into quiet.